This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Hello out there and welcome to episode 105 of the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm located in Pasco County, and today you'll see that I am wearing a Tampa Bay Bucks jersey. This is not my loyalty, my normal loyalty. I'm going against what I would normally do, but we do have on with us two of the members of Lifeguard Imaging. They're located right in Tampa, right by the Rocky Point area. We have former NFL kicker Martín Gramática, who is the VP of Business Development, and Frankie Maldonado, who's the Director of Operations of Lifeguard Imaging. Guys, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Mike?
Thank you so much for being on the Good Neighbor Podcast. Just so you know a little bit about what the podcast is and what we do and how we got started. Back in 2020, when everybody was doing social distancing, the Good Neighbor Podcast was developed as a way for business owners and charity groups and things like that to get their message out to the community and still be compliant with social distancing. And in the last 3+ years that we've been doing this, we have podcasts in Denver, Atlanta, Virginia. I'm lucky enough to be the person here in Tampa that gets to talk to business owners and entrepreneurs and find out a little bit about their story. So with that said, tell us a little bit about Lifeguard Imaging.
Well, I came to Lifeguard as a patient first, but my wife and I, we heard it out on the radio and we just wanted to be proactive. And what we do at Lifeguard Imaging is preventative scans for heart disease and cancer. And it's something that a lot of people don't know that they can do a preventative scan because, you know, they're not something that's very popular and we're not used to going to the doctor until we don't feel well. So to come in, and we encourage our patients to come in when they're feeling well, because that's when, if we were to find anything, it's going to be prior to that first symptom, where with heart disease, it could be the heart attack, and with cancer, it could be late stage. So we want our patients and encourage our patients to come in when they're feeling well. So when we detect something, it could be early. So
it is kind of a mind shift, right? Like people generally think I'm going to go, like for me, in my head, I picture it like an MRI. Now I'm a pretty big guy, not as big as some of the guys you've been around, but I'm like claustrophobic. I can't get in an MRI machine. I freak out. So like, is it a similar setup like that? Or is it more of like they do all this 3D imaging now? Is it similar to that? What is the makeup of how it goes?
No, that's a great question, because not only is it a lot faster than an MRI, because MRIs usually take about 30 to 45 minutes. It's very loud. They give you the headsets so you don't hear the machine. Our CT scanner is 18 inches. It's a donut to start. It's not a tube, and the patient their head never goes into the donut. So they're going to be from the neck to the pelvis is where we're scanning for the full body. And the beauty about where we're at in Florida, we have a big window where you can kind of see our background. That would be exactly what you would see in the scanner if you keep your eyes open. You look through the donut and you just look out the window, see the palm trees, the sunshine. You never even know you're in the scanner. So, and it's a 7-minute scan. So it's very fast as well.
So I don't need Xanax is what you're saying. I won't need any Xanax. No. Not for the scan anyway. That's a whole other story completely. So let me ask you this, Martín, was it like your wife that said to you, hey, look, usually it's our significant others that are proactive, or are you kind of the guy who is, you know, I'm really concerned about my health and I want to make sure I'm ahead of the curve?
No, that's a good question, because we hear it all the time, you know, where the spouse, usually the women are bringing their husbands in because we're more hard-headed when it comes to our health. In this case, we're the opposite. My wife is one of those that never wants to go to the doctor, never wants to do anything. So when we heard the ad on the radio, I even told her, I said, we've got to go do this, you know, and we have 3 kids. So we wanted to be proactive. If anything was going on, obviously detect it early. If not, you have that peace of mind. But again, we put it off for a couple of weeks because when you're feeling well and life with 3 kids and playing sports, we're all over the place. And luckily, and I'll tell a quick story about how I met Frankie, because he's not a Bucks fan either. Well, now he's become more of a Bucks fan, but we do stuff with WFLA, which is the main channel for the Bucks broadcast. So I'm on that trip with my wife to DC, and Frankie is in the seat in front of us talking about Lifeguard. And my wife overhears the conversation and she's like, I think those are the scan guys you're talking about. So we just kept eavesdropping. And I know Frankie realized that Ashley was eavesdropping on the conversation. But then he stands up, and Frankie's the biggest Chiefs fan I've ever met. Okay.
Now he's a Chiefs fan. Now all of a sudden.
No. Listen, I'll vouch for him because I've seen pictures when he was 5 years old.
All right.
So it's not one of those fair weather fans. I'm gonna let he's
We'll get to that. In a second.
But he suffered through all the bad years. Cool. But he stands up and he's wearing a Chiefs T-shirt on a Bucs plane. So that gave me an opening to say something. I said, man, you cannot wear that shirt on our plane. And we hit it off. We spent the whole weekend because the Bucs do a great job of taking care of dinners and events. And we literally landed on Sunday from the game, and I was scanning on Tuesday. So that's how quick it was. And then just became part of Lifeguard because not only do I love what we're doing, but also the staff and just it's a family. I related almost to when I had that locker room with Tony Dungy where our family came first. The friendships, we all cared for each other and we're all working for that common goal, which is, in this case, saving lives. But we're all care about each other at the office. And it just doesn't ever feel like you're coming to work. And as soon as I had the opportunity to be part of Lifeguard, it was a no-brainer.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. That was the transition I was going to ask you is, so you go and do this scan on Tuesday after you play the team from Washington or whoever they are. And then you get back, you do the scan. How long does it take to get the results? We live in a digital age. Is it relative? It's not like you have to go and get like film and look at film of a break or something like that. Is it usually relatively quick to get results?
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, you're good, buddy. Mike, the results are pretty quick. We are always told, our doctor of radiology, we have board certified doctors of radiology that say that we should tell the patients between 3 to 5 business days. It's generally a lot quicker than that. Obviously, it's a situation where they want to make sure that something doesn't come up that could delay it. Again, in the digital era, there's so many different things that can be a hindrance to efficiency, but we generally get them back a lot quicker than that. So I want to say Martín got his results within 2 days, and that's usually what we hope to get back to our patients. There's a full medical report with medical terminology that's great to share with your doctors, but then there's a summary at the bottom of the page that itemizes anything that looked peculiar and what, if any, follow-up steps they believe should be taken to ensure that there's nothing dangerous.
Well, that is really like the hard part about this, right? So like you hear stories all the time. Someone goes in for surgery and it's kind of a routine surgery and then they don't come home, right? Like that happens all the time. You could very easily go in on a Tuesday morning and think, hey, look, I feel great. I'm a professional athlete. I'm in good shape, etc. But those results could be bad results, right? I mean, how often are you guys breaking bad news to people? That's got to be incredibly hard.
Mike, you won't believe this because originally I thought it was a slogan for a T-shirt, but we're saving 1 to 3 lives a day every single day in our office with patients that look great, feel great. They come in just because they want to be proactive, and we're finding either heart disease or cancer where they have no symptoms whatsoever. So it's thousands of lives a year that are being saved because patients want to be proactive with their health.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the mind-blowing thing about it is because you see people walking down the street. Like I see guys in the gym, they look like they're in incredible shape. And then you hear, he had a heart attack at 42 years old because they don't know. It's like an invisible killer just sitting there waiting for something to happen at any given moment. I mean, I've thought about it too. I see all those memes on social media. I'm still gonna die whether I eat bacon or grilled chicken, so I might as well eat the bacon. But I do and I don't. Whatever. That's a whole topic for another day. So, Martín, we know a little bit about your journey. I mean, obviously, you've been in the spotlight here for a while, especially in Tampa. But Frankie, tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, how do you get into this? Is it a medical background? Are you like a medical device guy? How do you end up getting involved with Lifeguard Imaging?
I kind of fell into it, sort of, Mike. And what I mean by that is this. I had a friend of mine who I work with. This is back in the 2015, 2016 timeframe. And he kept telling me stories about a friend of his who had a medical scanning company that was scanning patients, again, before they had symptoms for early detection of heart disease and cancer. And it kind of piqued my interest. And I kept asking him more and more, tell me more about it. What's the story? What's he doing? Long story short, the gentleman wanted my friend to come up and run his business for him, but it was in another state. He didn't want to go to Georgia. And I was looking for a career change at the time. And I basically told him, I said, look, introduce me to him. Let me have an interview with him, and maybe it's something he'd give me an opportunity to do. So I literally, in 2017, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, went and met him at the Villages. We had about a 3.5 hour meeting. I was just soaking up all the information he was giving me about what he did. And Mike, I was blown away. And the reason it kind of hit me so personally is my father. I don't have a medical background. I have a health minor, a broadcasting major, health minor from Maryland. But my father was a prominent surgeon in Maryland. And so I was always around medicine. My mother was an RN. And my father, unfortunately, lost his life in 1998 to pancreatic cancer because of a misdiagnosis of a traditional CT scanner. Yeah, so this became very personal to me when he was telling me about what they were doing. So I went to Atlanta, met this gentleman, saw his business, and true story, if my wife was here, she could tell you this. 2 days after being there, I called my wife and I said, Amy, this is what we're doing. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And we literally uprooted our family in December, sold everything, moved to Atlanta. I ran this gentleman's company for a little bit over 3.5 years before he gave me the blessing to come down here and for us to open up Lifeguard. Obviously, Martín came on board a few months after we opened, and it's been an amazing thing. But I'll tell you, what I speak about with my dad and the personal side of that is my dad lost his life to pancreatic cancer, and the tragedy of anybody losing their life is you lose your life to a disease because it's a silent killer, as you mentioned it. These are invisible diseases to the naked eye. But my father had the knowledge as a medical professional 10 months before his diagnosis to tell them to check his pancreas because something didn't feel right. And the traditional scanners, which are wonderful, take a wide, thick slice, which covers more of the surface of the tissue, but it doesn't have as much detail. And it has sometimes gaps in the visibility. And one of the gaps was on the tail of my father's pancreas where the head of the cancer was, and they never saw it. January of 98, he had the scan. They said he was clean. November of 98, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he was gone in December. That fast. Horrific story. The reason I tell you that is there is no screening or scanning for pancreatic cancer. But while I was running the other facility, Mike, we found pancreatic cancer pre-stage 1 in a woman and saved her life. And it's a game changer, and nobody's doing that. And the reason I tell you that is the slices we produce are so thin that our images actually overlap one another. And our doctors take the images off of our technology and actually with the software reproduce a three-dimensional view of your internal organs. And they capture things as small as the tip of a pen, like the head of a crayon. A 2-millimeter ball bearing size shadow can be captured. That's the type of thing that we're finding. And Martín can tell you, we have patients coming in 1 year, 0 calcium score, which means they're clean, unremarkable report on their organs, which means there's nothing there. And the second year or the third year, we're going to be finding scores on their calcium or shadows that turn out to be potentially developing cancers. It is remarkable, Mike. It's remarkable.
So I have a couple questions off of this. Like, one is technical, and maybe this isn't the right forum for that, but like the thing I always understood about an MRI was the reason it's so loud and there's so much banging is this basically this magnet wheel that's spinning to get you this imaging that goes deep into the body. Is there, I mean, maybe that's completely wrong. I'm an idiot. I don't know any medical stuff. Like I might as well just be, not have any knowledge, but that's kind of always was my understanding of it. Is there something about what you guys do that allows you, is it special technology with the, I mean, don't give away obviously the secret recipe to KFC, but is it like some sort of special imaging that you guys use that allows you to get such a fine slice of the organs? And is it, and you said it's not loud, so I don't know if that's just a myth that I previously thought of about MRIs and imaging.
No, I think, and again, I don't have the complete total technical knowledge to speak about it with total intelligence, but you're right. It is a magnet as opposed to what we use with CT, computed tomography. So the way the machines, any machine can be programmed. We don't have this unique technology that nobody in the world has. No secret sauce. It is a machine that could be in thousands of facilities around the world, but it's programmed in a way, instead of having these wide slices, that they're so precise and thin to capture things at the early level. And I'm not putting down the healthcare system, like it's the best in the world, but that's not their methodology. That's not the way that their business model works.
It's reactive.
They're when a patient is sent to the doctor, they have a symptom, 99 times out of 100, these wide slices will capture it. But when you're trying to do things preemptive to symptoms, when you're trying to go see a healthy patient, we're looking for things. We're looking to make sure everything's normal and trying to find, again, borderline molecular level developments to monitor it at that size and say, okay, let's keep an eye on that. And over time, see if it becomes something potentially dangerous. So it's all about the slice, the thin slices that we produce. And those have been programmed and recommended by our doctors of radiology. That's why we're doing things that the hospitals aren't. Not because they're bad. we're looking for things. They're doing reactive medicine and looking for things on a symptom.
So yeah, exactly that. Exactly what you said. I mean, current modern medicine is reactive. I have a symptom, here's a medication. I have a symptom, here's a cut to a surgery or whatever it is. This is kind of ahead of the curve in that regard. And honestly, this is like Star Wars type stuff, because I had heard of this a long time ago, but never really, like, I always thought it was George Lucas, like, kind of putting together a script to make it happen. I never really thought that it was at this level. But the next question I really have from those thin slicings is, can you capture even surface level stuff? Like if someone has skin cancer dermatologists can kind of see some stuff, but there's stuff underneath the surface that maybe hasn't, materialized yet. Does the machine catch that as well?
No, that's a great question. We do not. We are really looking at the internal organs, the soft tissue, the internal organs, nothing surface, nothing blood related. There are different pathologies that are better suited for that, obviously, than what we do. But what we're doing is we're looking at the stomach, liver, pancreas, spleen, gallbladder, bladder, kidneys, biliary tree, adrenal glands, bowels, everything inside the body to make sure that there's nothing transpiring there, because the majority of all the deadly diseases are attacking those vital internal organs.
It's funny, you told your dad's story. So my mom's story, the reason I live in Tampa, I lived in Atlanta. I lived north of the city in Alpharetta, coming up in that area. And I lived there for a long time. But the reason I live in Tampa is my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer in the winter of 2019. And it was a similar thing, right? Like she was going to get pre-admission testing. She had a skin growth on her somewhere, and she was doing her pre-admission testing. And they did normally what they always do, kind of seeing if you're capable of handling the surgery. And they found a spot on her lung, and it turned out to be stage 3 lung cancer. And that's how I end up in Tampa to take care of my parents, who are elderly and have since both passed away. But so the technology, there is technology there, but in her case, she's getting it in stage 3. What you guys are talking about is catching it like almost before it materializes, at the infancy stage of some sort of organ malfunction or dysfunction, if you will. And that is vital. I mean, that is great. And what is the slogan again? Saving 1 out of 3 lives?
Well, it's really not a slogan. I thought it was a slogan for a t-shirt. When I came to Lifeguard, we'd say 1 to 3 lives a day. No, it's something that's happening every single day. And just like you were mentioning, Mike, anytime hospital finds something early, it's usually by accident. They're scanning for something else, and they catch a shadow, and now they do deeper testing, and they find out that it's something cancerous or dangerous. In our case, we're purposely looking and looking prior to that symptom. And I have a story about it. In 2 years, I've had 5 friends saved by the scan where we've detected either cancer or heart disease. And the latest was a friend of mine ended up having the heart attack, because that's the other thing. When someone feels well, they're saying, well, I feel good. Why would I come see you? And I tell them, I want you to see me when you're feeling well, because if there is something going on, we're going to catch it. In this case, my buddy didn't come in. He ends up having a heart attack. And we would have detected the calcium and we would have prevented his heart attack, because if he would have taken, going to the cardiologist, and they would have done the next step. Right. But now, when I call him to see how he's doing, he's like, well, I'm doing fine. I had 4 stents put in. He had 100% blockage, 90, 70, and 70. Wow. No symptoms whatsoever prior to his heart attack. And he's lucky because it happened at a Pittsburgh Pirates spring training game. He's catching fly balls with the team. He was part of the Rotary Club. They had the medical staff and the equipment.
Right there.
Yes. So when they got him to the hospital, but now he wants to do the full body, him and his wife. They come in on a Monday, and we scan him, do the full body scans. On Thursday, we find kidney cancer on his wife, and the size of a softball. Okay. I mean, that's massive size, and she had no symptoms whatsoever. And she's still, every time we talk to her, she's still amazed. And I just saw a video on social media with she has 9 grandkids. They do Sunday dinner. She cooks for all the grandkids. And she's like, if the doctors, they were predicting that, because of the size of the mass, they had to take out the kidney and 2 lymph nodes. And they were predicting that within a month, she would have needed chemo. No, she would have needed chemo or radiation, which, the diseases are horrible, but so are the treatments, chemo, radiation, that just
as bad. Right.
Just as bad. And then within 6 months, they were thinking it would have metastasized because of the size of the mass. So that's how close she was to potentially metastasizing and literally losing her life. And a month away from not being able to enjoy her family. July 4th, they were at Disney with all the 9 grandkids. Like I said, I just saw a video this weekend where they spent, the day at their home with all 9 grandkids. So that's what we're doing at Lifeguard. We're capturing things early where patients not only can survive it with a higher percentage, but also with good quality of life, because if you avoid the chemo, avoid the radiation, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, that takes as much out of people. The treatment, the cure takes as much out of people as the actual ailment. It's funny so I became aware of Lifeguard Imaging probably about 2 years ago. I think I saw like an ad in Tampa Magazine or something like that. I have been to your offices before there over by Rocky Point. The funny thing, the ironic thing is I go to the gym this morning and I have breakfast with a buddy of mine. And after the gym, we're eating breakfast, I said, listen, I got to get back. I have to record a podcast in the studio with the guys at Lifeguard Imaging. And he says, I know, Frankie. We signed up. We are patients of Lifeguard Imaging, like small world, like incredible. My buddy Dave Breton, his wife Melissa Breton. I now am thinking there needs to be like an annual, Lifeguard Imaging family reunion for all these people. I mean, what I think of, because I'm morbid, is the fact that like you're talking about grandkids and kids and stuff, you're catching stuff early where actually families are happening that might not have even happened before. It's like creating generations of people that might not have been there before had they just not checked out the stuff. So it's incredible. And it's incredible just to run into somebody today, a guy I've known for, a long time, never even mentioned Lifeguard Imaging, and boom, immediately he says, oh yeah, we go there. We love it. We go and get our checkups. It's amazing. Like gave a rave review about your facility. So that's awesome. Really great. That's a really great testimonial. But the question I have, I kind of transition it. We've talked about a lot of granular medical technology and things like that. What do you guys do for fun? I mean, are you still kicking a soccer ball around the yard with the kids? Or, Frankie, what are you doing? What do you guys do when you're not at the office, when you're not scanning people and developing business for the facility?
Well, it's funny you mentioned a yearly reunion. We actually do that. It's called Empowered by the Scan, where we invite all our patients to come in. We throw a party where we have testimonials of patients that their lives have been saved by it. Because there's some scans that are unremarkable, but that again now gives you that peace of mind to know, okay, I looked inside, I'm fine. And with our legacy program, where patients scan every year, if anything were to develop, you're going to catch it early. And that's right. That's why my wife and I, we came for that reason. We're hoping nothing's going on. And now if thank God nothing was, now I have that peace of mind to know, okay, I'm fine. And I'm going to scan every year. So if anything were to develop, which hopefully never happens, but if it does, we're going to catch it early. So that's what it's called, Empowered by the Scan. And we're going to have our group and our family keeps growing, because every year, like I said, we're saving thousands of lives because of the scan.
It's almost like I'm a marketing guy. It's almost like I kind of thought of some of that stuff. And I didn't. So we talked before the podcast began. Like I said to you, I do a little bit of research, but how the hell would I know that you have a family reunion like that? That is a great promotion. That is amazing. I am sure there's laughter and tears that go on at that event. Just like there might be laughter if you're a Chiefs fan right now, there's tears if you're a Giants fan. So are you, Frankie, do you go out to Arrowhead and see games? Are you kind of a traveling guy, or do you just, like every other lazy adult American like myself, sit on the couch and cheer with chips in your hand?
No, you know what, buddy? And first of all, I like Daniel Jones. I hope they turn it around, because
I do too. Listen, we could do a whole hour podcast on this kid getting the raw end of the deal. He makes mistakes. Every quarterback makes mistakes. Everything he does, it gets magnified times 10. His offensive line is putrid. You got this running back who can't stay healthy. There's all sorts of stuff. But you guys have the GOAT. I mean, the soon-to-be GOAT.
From your lips to God's ears, I hope it continues, because Martin's right. I had 50 years of frustration in between Super Bowl wins. Yeah. So I'm really reveling in what's going on in Kansas City. But yeah, we're actually, even though we live here in Tampa, we're season ticket holders in Kansas City. So we go to about 3 or 4 games a year there. We go to all the playoff games. If they make it to the Super Bowl, Martin helps us to get tickets so we can go there. Nice. So yeah, we're big fans. We follow them if they go somewhere close by that we can drive to. And I enjoy those events. In terms of other things I do, I've got 3 children, a 16-year-old son who's a Jesuit, a 15-year-old daughter who's at Academy of Holy Names, and our youngest is 12. She's at Christ the King. So I have kids that are active. If you're a father, you already know that. It keeps you busy as heck, but it's a labor of love. I coach my youngest in soccer. That's going to be my last labor of love, though. She's got 2 more years of me coaching her, and then I'm going to sit back. Martin's still active with his children, though, as well, though. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So, you know what? I am not a dad. The extent of my fatherness is Norman, who's in that profile picture on the podcast, and he's literally snoring so loud right there. I don't know how people don't hear it. They probably think it's thunder and lightning outside. He's so loud. He's so fat. You know, it's funny is I grew up in northern New Jersey, walking distance to Giant Stadium. And my first game that I ever went to was O.J. Simpson playing for the 49ers. It was like 1977-ish. And my dad was like, you got to go see O.J. He's the greatest. And I was like, yeah, okay. Flash forward, you know, whatever O.J.'s situation was. But the thing I wanted to say from a football standpoint, not to go off on too big of a tangent, Tom Brady is currently the GOAT. But what I would say as a fan of watching football now for 45 plus years, what makes Tom Brady the GOAT, in my opinion, yeah, listen, talent-wise, he's great. His head is there. All that stuff's amazing, what he does. What makes him the GOAT is for 20 years, he kept taking hometown discounts with the teams that he was on because he saw the value in winning championships and his brand getting better because of it. And he did that. I mean, look what he did here. Like he could have taken way more money in a bunch of other places, but he took what he took here and brought all these other guys in and brought a Super Bowl here. That's the thing I like about Pat Mahomes, besides being great. And he was great on that quarterback thing on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that. He was great. But he keeps restructuring to let these other guys keep an offensive line in place so he doesn't get beat, you know, like he did in the one Super Bowl. So he's done that, which that's Tom Brady's greatest legacy, in my opinion, as a fan. He was the ultimate consummate team guy that motivated his guys around him. And honestly, to me, I always loved baseball as a kid because I was good at baseball, but football to me is such a team game. So when I see guys get ripped for certain stuff and the average fan is watching football and they're like, oh, this guy threw an interception, but they don't realize that it was a combo route, that the receiver ran the wrong way and that he literally had no time to throw. There's all sorts of stuff which makes football great to me to be able to watch. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in some of the locker rooms you were in with some of those guys because that was an intense group for a good window here in Tampa for a long time. So I guess to transition away from that, besides doing stuff with the family and traveling to KC, do you guys like to, are you a big golfer? I mean, it seems like every NFL guy's a big golfer. Are you into that at all or no?
No, that's funny you ask. I'm probably the only kicker in the NFL that doesn't golf. I mean, I golf charity events and I do, Mike Allstott. We just did there at Brooks. So I play at my buddies' events like that. But as far as me going out to hit a round of golf, it's never been my thing. Even when I played and I had a lot of free time, I enjoyed more. I grew up playing soccer, so soccer was my thing. I would volunteer to coach kids and then actually jump in and scrimmage with them when I was active a player. And then in the off season, I joined some leagues and try to play soccer, which was not the smartest thing, but it's something that I was passionate about and it kept me in shape for the season. But yeah, no, golf was, Frankie loves golf. That's the one thing.
That's the thing.
He just loves the golf. I just can't.
So I'll tell you, as a kid, I was a little fat kid, so I couldn't definitely play soccer. I'd be like, let me just play goalie and stand here and put my body in the way of the ball. That was about the extent of my soccer. Football was good. I was a lineman. I only had to run 10 yards at a time. I was never downfield blocking for anybody. And golf, we had my old ad agency. We had a membership at the Golf Club of Georgia right in Alpharetta in Atlanta. And when I tell you, Frankie, like people would see me coming on the golf course and they would like put their storm shutters up. I was the worst. I sliced into so many people's houses. Thank God for three-sided brick houses in Atlanta because I'm a destroyer of just a mess. It was a total mess. So what do you shoot? How do you shoot on the course?
Well, I'm only about an 18 handicap. Believe me, I don't get out. I wish I could get out more. But I got friends who were 3-4 handicaps. And Martin's being modest. The first time we went golfing, we went out on my birthday last year. He didn't go to the driving range, Mike. He got there late, so we're out there warming up on the driving range. He gets up, tees his ball up 300 yards right down the middle, and I'm not exaggerating. He positions himself as 5'8". I don't know how much he weighs. He crushes the ball. But athletes are athletes. That's what it comes down to.
And that's about the swing. I'm about 6 foot, 240 pounds, but I play baseball, so my swing is always inside out, and I kill it. but athletes are athletes. I'm unfortunately not what you would call an athlete. I might have the rapper that kind of looks the game, but I don't really. I'll skip falling down the street, chewing gum, and walking at the same time. So let me ask you guys this separately. This is kind of a big thing. You know, you talked a little bit about your journey. Has there been a time in either of your lives where you've kind of hit this, you know, some sort of challenge or some sort of hardship where you're like, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, and how do I get to the NFL, or, you know, how do I fall into this career where you've turned it around and come out the other side where you're saving lives?
Well, that's a really nice question, and I'm glad you asked. I just actually released my book, which tells my whole story coming from Argentina into what I'm doing now with Lifeguard, and it's just a whole process. And there was a lot of adversity as far as like my family. You know, I just had an upbringing that I didn't want my kids to experience and be a part of. That's why I had to break some ties. But yeah, everybody goes through those ups and downs, and life's not perfect for everyone. But it's about getting up and moving forward. And that's one of the things that pretty much I talk about in the book. But and for me, Lifeguard is something where I had my own business, which I say that the story of my business is kind of like a boat owner. You know, the happiest days when you open it because you think it's the greatest business. And now I'm handing the keys over to the landlord, take the building, because it was a good business, but I wasn't passionate. I didn't love it. Right. And with Lifeguard, it's not work. We're not working here. We're just, it doesn't feel like that when you get up in the morning and you come to the office, and people are surprised that I'm in the office every day. I enjoy being in the office because we do a lot of marketing, and they're like, well, we didn't expect to see you there. Well, you know, my wife would probably kill me if I spend all day at home. So that's partly why.
Go to the office already. Go.
Well, get out of here, right? No, but it's not work. You know, we're here. We're meeting different people, and then obviously it's not easy to give someone results when we find stuff. But in the way, especially with my friends, it was really hard at the beginning because and then having a conversation with Frankie, just say, look, buddy, you're ruining their day because you're finding something, but you're saving their life. So at the end of the day, it's a happy story because we're catching it early and they can survive it. So to be a part of Lifeguard has just been a blessing, and I just can't wait to just keep growing with it and seeing more people, because there's still a lot of work to be done, because it's something that's not something that everybody knows they can do. And that's part of what my part of the business is with Lifeguard, is getting the word out and letting people know that you can have a preventative scan prior to that first symptom. Come in and
we're going to talk after this podcast. You and I are going to have a talk. I got some ideas for you. So I will tell you, it's funny you say that, Martín, is that for me, I spent 20 years in a corporate job that I hated. Like, I worked in corporate finance, all this math, and I just happened to be good at what I did. And I literally would wake up every day and go like, I got to do this again. Like, I got to get up, and it was like cycle and repeat over and over again. And I'm a big baby. Like, I couldn't have the wherewithal to just say, you know what, I'm going to go do something different. I actually needed God to intervene, or the real estate market to crash. God intervene in these bad mortgages in a way that it said to me, hey, look, this is going under. You need to do something different. And in all my dad's, stuff that he came up with, and I don't think he came up with it, but the reality is he always would say to us, if, you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it is true. Like, I enjoy being in the community. I enjoy helping people market their business. I enjoy helping people grow their business. I mean, I can get into a whole bunch of stories about the big brands I've worked with and some of the smaller ones that I've helped. They're more like having more skin in the game, helping a business grow is incredible. So I feel the same way. Enjoying what you do makes a huge, huge difference in how you go about your day to day, for sure. I guess the big question really for the listeners is, what is the one thing? I mean, you guys talked about so much great stuff. What's the one thing, if they're going to take any one thing away from this conversation, that they need to know about coming and working with Lifeguard Imaging?
I'm going to tell you something, Mike, because that's a great question as well. We're sitting here talking to you about the lives we're saving, and it's the most incredible feeling, sincerely, to know that you helped somebody survive something that's so deadly, like cancer or heart disease. But we oftentimes talk, behind closed doors after hours, and we say, what about the people that maybe didn't enroll in one of our programs? And again, we have, as Martín might have alluded to, we have promotions we run, and we want to run something for your podcast listeners, but we have promotions where we have patients come in to learn about what we're doing. And what we offer is a long-term what's called legacy imaging program, where we monitor them over the course of 5 years, full body scan every year. Doctors of radiology do an evaluation and comparable year to year to capture anything that might be changing at the earliest stages. Not everybody enrolls in that, and that's fine, of course. But we talk about it and say, we hear all these wonderful stories about the lives we saved. What about people that maybe we missed, that we didn't help? And it was always a troubling thought. And it was last Christmas time in December, that one of our legacy patients had come in for their annual scan, and we went out there in the lobby and we're speaking with them and greeting them and just speaking about what's been transpiring in the past year. It's a horribly sad story. But the gentleman told me, he goes, look, excited about our next scan, this and that. He goes, I don't know if you know the story of my friend. And he told me about his friend. He goes, he's one of the first patients that came to see you. And he goes, he just got a heart scan. He got the promotional that you guys were running at that time for a free heart scan. He didn't enroll in your program. And he just got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And he's got a short time right now to be around. And he said to me and my wife, he said, this is what his friend said to him telling me. He said, he told us, I wish I had done what you guys did and got that program, because I might have been able to survive this and still have more time here. And the man looked at me and he said, that's why when my wife and I did this, we said it was going to be a Christmas present we were giving to ourselves every year. And the reason I tell you that is, that's kind of a message I want to tell people. When you come in to see us, you will meet with a patient advocate that will explain everything that we do, all the different things we can do, the ways we can find cancer, heart disease, and so forth. No one has an obligation to do a single thing, but people need to know what we have in our backyard and what we have the capability of doing. And ultimately, while this is a business, nobody's giving us funding from any, subsidies or grants. This is a business. We are honestly and truly, Mike, here to save as many lives as possible. And everything we do is to make sure that the patient experience is just that they come in here, we will give them information. If they want us to help them beyond that, we're here to do that. But it's a pretty special thing.
While you're talking that whole entire time, what's going through my head thinking about it is, and look, I don't know what it costs I don't know what your program is. I'm sure there's certain different levels that they can come in when they speak to the patient advocate there and do all that stuff. And there's multiple different slices of it. Whatever it is, I don't even know what the number is. Where my head goes is this. Let's just say it costs me, let's just say $20,000. I'm going to throw a round number out there. I don't even know if that's what it costs me to be in your legacy program. If in the next 5 years I get diagnosed with cancer, my medical bills and hospitalization, regardless of what kind of coverage I have, could be $10,000 a year out of pocket in expenses alone. And there's so many people that literally are handicapped from the medical bills of hospitalization in this country. If that investment up front can help me avoid some of that later on, I'm a numbers guy. I told you I spent 20 years in finance. For me, even though I do marketing, it's all about numbers. It's all about, does the numbers make sense? And to me, again, and I'm making up numbers, so this could be completely fantasy island. To me, the preventive side of it is so much. Listen, I'll give you an example. My silly little fat bulldog here has dog insurance, health insurance. I pay $300 a month for him to have health insurance. So that is, $3,000, $3,600 a year. Like an idiot, I do that because one catastrophic event where I have to choose between having my dog get put to sleep or it being a $30,000 bill, I don't want to be put in that position. So I do it. So it's preventative. And I will tell you, during COVID, he got pneumonia. It cost me $17,000 and my insurance covered all of it but $1,000. So this to me is the same thing in my head. Look, I can go in, set up this program. It's like a savings account. It's savings on my health. I'm making deposit now to actually have the ability later on to live a fruitful life that I might have missed out on. So I don't know if that analogy makes any sort of sense, but for me, that's the way my brain functions around thinking about how it works. The big question is, all right, I've listened to this podcast. How do I get to you guys? If I call right now, as soon as I hang up here, is it a 6-month waiting list to get in? How soon does it take me to get in, and what's the best way for me to reach out?
No, that's a great question, Mike. We are right now booked about a month and a half, and we're trying to see more patients, and we're looking for a bigger office where we could do 2 scans. We have 1 scanner right now and be able to see more patients because the demand's there. And also people are hearing about it. So now there's more more interest in what we're doing.
Right.
So yeah, they can find us on our website, lifeguardimaging.com, or they can call now 813-582-5222. That's our marketing in our answering department, where they'll put them in a schedule. And they may get lucky, because if we do have cancellations, there's sometimes the patients say, I just called last week. So if there are any cancellations, we try to fill them in right away. But like I said, the sooner a patient gets their scan, and if they decide to ever do the full body, the sooner we set their baseline, the sooner we can start monitoring and potentially save their life. So that's why and one of the messages you said, what would my message be to anyone listening, is don't put it off, because I did. Once I heard the ad on the radio, I put it off for 2 weeks, and thank God I was on that plane and saw Frankie. But if not, who knows if I would have called, because I was feeling fine. I have 3 kids. We're bouncing around all over the state with their sports. So life could have gotten in the way where I would have not called. So the biggest message is, when you hear about Lifeguard, call right away. Because if you're feeling well, you may put it off. And the other thing is, because I have my best friend has not scanned yet. She's like a sister, right? And her thing is, I don't want to know. And I can call her names that I don't want to say on your podcast, because I don't know if you might beat me. But we're that close. She's like a sister. And she's like, I don't want to know. And I tell her, you will know. You're going to know today if there's something going on where it's early, or you're going to know when it's too late. And I can't get through her head. And this has been 2 years now. And she's heard, and I send her all the stories. And she's like, are you trying to scare me? No, I'm trying to show you what we're doing. But there's some mutual friends that have been saved by the scan. We have a personal friend, because I coached their kid in soccer. That's how we met. And I've coached this kid, where her mom came in, and she didn't even want to come. She wasn't even scanning. She was scanning her husband, because he's not feeling well. Luckily, I talked her into scanning, and she had 95% blocked LAD, which is a widowmaker, and had a stent put in 2 weeks after our scan that literally saved her life. And she knows about this story, because our kids grew up together playing soccer, and I still can't get her in. So I said, my next move is going to be like Mr. T. I'm going to drug her up and stick her in the scanner. I'm at the bar.
I'll convince her. Send her over here. We'll guilt her into it. Like, I grew up in a Catholic house, so we got guilt on lockdown over here. We'll guilt her into it, just like my dad would do. It's so funny is thinking about it, and I kind of wrap it up with this, because I know I'm keeping you guys a little bit longer than we said, but like, how is the medical field like this is like, there's this big joke about not a big joke, but about cancer. Like, there's no profit in the cure, right? There's no profit in the cure. So like, you're getting people and you're finding this stuff out early on, and they're going to their doctor. Is the transition pretty smooth? Does the doctor say, oh my God, thank you for going to Lifeguard Imaging. We found this early. We could just put you on this medication? Or like, are they receptive to it? Or is there kind of like a little bit like, I mean, I don't know, they got the Hippocratic Oath, so I think they can't wish people be bad, but is it a smooth transition going to the doctor after that?
It's about 50-50, Mike, legitimately.
Really?
Yeah. Half the doctors, because we get the feedback from our patients, half the doctors see our reports and say, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Where did you get it from? And then they talk to us, start sending patients in. And then the other half literally will take the document, put it aside and say, I don't need that. I got you covered. Seriously. And I say this respectfully to any and all doctors out there who feel that way. I know they're following the methodologies they were taught through years of medical school, and they're successful methodologies, but there's new capabilities now. And why would you shun something that could give you information and insight before there's a symptom? I don't know if some people feel like their toes are being stepped on. What we want to say, the message we want to give to every doctor out there, Mike, is we're not here to combat you. We're here to uplift and compliment you. We're going to give you the patients, instead of dealing with a stage 4 cancer where you're trying to give them quality of life for the last few months. We're giving it to you early. We don't treat them. Treat these patients, help them survive and have a long life. So it really is almost split perfectly down the middle, unfortunately.
That is pretty. I was saying it facetiously, like, there's no way a doctor who takes the Hippocratic Oath is going to be, but there is a level of arrogance. I can say it. You guys can't say it. There is a level of arrogance that goes along with that profession that sometimes maybe gets in the way. And that's pretty sad. But, you brought up something there, and we'll kind of wrap it up on this, is that more information is better than less information. And the sooner you have that information, the better. So if you're listening to this podcast, you hear it, you see it on social media, wherever you're getting this information. Martín Gramática, Frankie Maldonado, Lifeguard Imaging, they're right in Rocky Point. I'm going to try to convince them after we're done here to open a location in Wesley Chapel, so I don't have to drive all the way down there. contact them, lifeguardimaging.com, or call them today. Do not wait. It is important that you go and get checked out. It is an investment in your health. You cannot put a price tag on an investment in your health. 813-582-5222. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being good neighbors, and thank you so much for being on the Good Neighbor podcast. You have an amazing week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Passcode. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnppasco.com. That's gnppasco.com, or call 813-922-3610.